Let's compare two Qui-Gon Jinn style lightsaber hilts. So on the left is an 89 Sabers Qui-Gon Jinn lightsaber hilt, and on the right is a One Replica's SSQy Super Stunt lightsaber hilt. And why is it orange? So the company One Replicas has made different kind of variations on the SSQy, so they have different finishes available. They've had gold, orange, black, metallic silver color, and they've also had sort of the two-toned, where it's metallic silver and black, but happen to have an orange one here, so that's why we have an orange one in the video. But the company has made some hilts that look a bit more, they have the kind of the standardized colors of the black and the silver. So just wanted to get that out of the way right at the beginning. Now, well, another point about the One Replica's hilt here, this is a slimmed down design, so some of the design differences between these two hilts will be simply because the design of the hilt is slimmed down. It's meant to be a bit friendlier for dueling and for spinning. So if we look at the overall hilt, now the complexity of the 89 Sabers hilt is certainly, higher. This One Replica's hilt has very few pieces, very few moving parts. So kind of the shroud section of the hilt is really just sort of a faux shroud. It's attached. It's just kind of part of, rather, the main body of the hilt. Whereas on this other hilt, the 89 Sabers one, the shroud is removable. Now, both of them do have a removable pommel. And the pommel for the 89 Sabers hilt is vented. It has some sound holes on the bottom. The standard pommel for the SSQy is not vented, although they did produce some vented versions for this hilt as well. So let's kind of move to the top. That's always a good place to start with some of these comparison videos. You can see there's kind of an extra lip to the top of the emitter section that's not present on the One Replica's hilt, and it is on the 89 Sabers hilt. If we look at the top, this is much kind of more narrow on the One Replica's hilt, a bit kind of wider, and there's kind of that ring, that sort of lip at the top of the hilt. Now moving down, both of these hilts kind of have a few grooves right here, very similar in design, very similar in thickness actually too. Now the blade retention screw on the hilts, it's very high on both of them actually. It's very, very high on the One Replicas, and it's just a little bit below this top section of the emitter area. You can just barely even see it. It's very discreet on the 89 Sabers hilt. Now we have a bit of a kind of flare out in the design here. Both of them are, pretty similar, but you can see that they're a bit different. Now moving down further, we get to kind of another series of these grooves, and the cut on the grooves is very similar. Although you can see that the grooves actually on this One Replica's, they don't quite reach this faux shroud. Whereas, this hilt over here, the 89 Sabers hilt, the shroud actually covers the grooves that, surround the hilt. So that's a little bit different right there. It's kind of interesting. I actually didn't really notice that before making this video right now. Now moving down, so the switch area on this hilt, or on both these hilts, it's pretty much in the same location. You can see that, just in relation to the size of the hilt. Now there's sort of a slimmed down button that One Replica sells for their hilts, and so or low profile, I guess is the term that I'm looking for. So they do have those available. Now if you're looking for screen accuracy, the 89 Sabers one is definitely a bit more screen accurate. I do believe that One Replica's has sold some kind of knurled buttons kind of like this in their store as well. Now the grooves are kind of interesting. So both of them are very similar in kind of their cut, although the depth of them is radically different. So the depth on the One Replica's hilt, well, it's very shallow. And again, this is for easier handling. That's at least part of it. And the grooves, these are some of the kind of thickest grooves on a lightsaber you'll maybe ever see on this 89 Sabers hilt. Now moving to the back of the hilt, you can see that both of these hilts have kind of these rounded off sections, kind of ovalish sections. But, you know, in the case of this 89 Sabers hilt, you get a little peak below the shroud, whereas on the One Replica's hilt, it's just all kind of built in, but it's intended to kind of mimic that effect. You can see there's an additional retention screw here. And then at the bottom of the hilt, we have the cover tech wheel installed on the 89 Sabers hilt, and the One Replica's hilt could have a cover tech wheel installed right here. That's what that screw hole is for. And we already talked about the pommel a little bit, but let's see. There's a little bit more of a taper, you know, in this One Replica's design than there is with the 89 Sabers design. So that's pretty much it, you guys. I guess one other detail about this 89 Sabers hilt is the shroud is removable. I may have mentioned that earlier. And there's actually a compartment underneath the shroud, so that can make kind of the electronics installs a little bit easier. So that's a pretty kind of, well, distinctive thing really with this hilt. It's not so common for hilts to have that feature. And this One Replica's hilt doesn't have that feature. It's pretty standard, kind of what you see is what you get. That's the axis that you get in the hilt right there. So anyway, this has just kind of been a comparison of two Qui-Gon Jinn style lightsabers. So on the left is an 89 Sabers lightsaber hilt, and on the right is 89 Sabers Qui-Gon Jinn lightsaber hilt. And on the right is a One Replica's SSQy Super Stunt lightsaber hilt, and it's sort of a slimmed down Qui-Gon Jinn style design. So here it is, you guys.